name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Thank you for taking your time out to be part of this great show. As usual, we bring impactful, new, exciting content. And this time I'm excited to welcome to the studio for the second time Mogomotsi France.
Mr. Mogobe.
Welcome so much to the studio.
Thanks a lot for having me for the second time. I enjoyed myself on the first episode.
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to even sharing more insights about certain topics.
It is an honor. I'm going to think of you as a regular guest. I don't want 2 months to go by without inviting you back.
Yeah.
Because the objective of the show, really, to put it simply, is to empower, to energize and to infuse Botswana entrepreneurs out there in general, and anybody out there who wants some encouragement. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting subject. We're going to talk about building resilient enterprises. It's an interesting subject, but before we get into it, just tell the viewer who you are, what you do, and then explain to them the topic that we're going to discuss.
Yes, my name is Mogomotsi Patrick France. I'm the founder and director of Key Wealth Group, where we specialize in training, advisory, and risk management. At heart, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think times like this, where we're hit with issues of corona or any other issue that might be a challenge or a threat to any enterprise, we need to build resiliency and also be resilient in our enterprise. But it doesn't only happen when times are like this. We have to be continuously be building it. So hence today, when you invited, I said, you know what, let's talk about how to build a resilient enterprise, how to build an enterprise that can go through actually all the challenges that might be there. So it's very important, more especially in this time and age where we're hit by...
The objective is to weather the storm. I mean, it is a storm.
Yeah.
Some say it's a perfect storm.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that it's going to be brief and short. But can you say a word or two as to how you feel it's going to impact the economy and how things are going to turn out this corona thing?
Yes, it's going to impact the economy, and it's going to affect also entrepreneurs or people that are running businesses or business people, because us at Key Wealth, we've already felt it. You must remember that as part of our business is doing team buildings, trainings, and selling one-on-one. So these are areas where people convene in numbers, or maybe just talking to them one-on-one. So we have had our businesses that were supposed to travel being cancelled, because remember, we're dealing with people in the hospitality business where we book hotels and we book all those places. So clearly it affects that. So now here's the thing: you realize that even goods and services are not being there isn't trading. And remember, in economies where another means spending, another means income. So where there's no spending because there's no activity, that means there's no income. We've seen even the airlines, we've seen people, I mean, in other countries it's bad. Here we haven't felt it that much, but the impact of it are felt even after, because you see now that there isn't money coming into our businesses. How are we going to pay salaries, rentals, and all those other stuff, because we're not generating any income?
I know it's no consolation, but the place we are in, the establishment we are in, Black, we haven't seen a customer in days.
That's the thing.
You've been sitting alone there waiting.
Yeah.
So it is really impacted everyone.
Yes.
But let's talk about resilience, because we have to maintain a positive mental attitude, isn't it?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
There's always going to be a crisis. Let's start there. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first or the last crisis to happen. Because if you think of it, there could be many crises. There could be a health crisis, there could be a financial crisis, there could be a global crisis. Some people call them recession, but if you understand, there's a crisis and a recession.
Have you even heard of a depression also?
There was a Great Depression at some point back in the day, but I think it might happen again sometime. There's a short-term, even in finance, there's a short-term debt cycle and a long-term debt cycle. And it does happen that crises will continuously happen. But the question about it's not the crisis happening because they're going to happen. It's about how you are resilient, how strong are you to handle that crisis. And they always say, life is about problems from crisis. Problems from it's like when you go to a hospital, and there's always that machine that shows that you're alive.
In other words, the crises are only interrupted by problems.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you realize that there's an author that says it's either you're in a crisis, you just got out of a crisis, or you're just about to go into a crisis.
Yes, yes.
So the issue is, how do you handle the crisis? Because crises are always going to be there. I mean, think of it. How far back was the crisis? More especially the financial one.
08.
08, we had a crisis in 0809, and now we're having a crisis, financial crisis somehow that is caused. It might be a short-term one that is caused by a health issue, because everything has stopped. Imagine other countries are in a lockdown. It means that there's no activity. So there's always going to be things like this. So it's not about them happening. And people are going through a lot of stuff in their lives. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I've gone through business crisis, and we call it the entrepreneur JCAV. You know, you're so enthusiastic and you're so optimistic about it.
We're going to come to that.
Yeah, I'm ahead of time. Maybe I like talking a lot
number
about
6. Yeah, we're going to come to it.
Yeah, right.
Let's structure it this way.
Yeah.
You say you have to have an understanding to avoid panic. What do you mean by that? What understanding do you have to have at a time like this to avoid panicking?
Yeah. Right now, we're given insights of how to avoid, contracting the coronavirus, and that's knowledge. Meaning that if you want to go through anything, or you want to avoid the panic, you have to have the understanding of how it works. And when you think about it, the opposite of understanding is ignorance. So the moment you become ignorant about anything, you will then panic and become anxious, and because you won't have an understanding of how it works. It speaks to each and every industry. If you want to be successful in real estate, you need to understand how it works. If you want to be successful, in terms of spiritual issues, you need to understand how that the mind and spirit, the nature.
How do people in the service industry like you and I, what understanding do we need to have at this time?
Yeah, you need to understand the impact of corona. You need to understand the impact of corona on your business. You need to understand how you can be able to recover, and how your business works, and how your business can be resilient in this particular era. And also just be attentive. What's happening? Understand the disease itself. I mean, some people are panicking right now because they're thinking, oh, corona is going to come and wipe us out. But it might be a short-term thing if you understand it. It might be an issue that you can avoid by simply doing taking the precautions that were given. So understanding is having an understanding of how certain things work.
His Excellency the President was speaking this morning. I wonder whether we picked anything from what he's saying. Is there any breaking news from that?
There isn't much of breaking news, because some of the things he said were put on the government press release, and I think what he was giving is hope that they are looking at certain things. I mean, I've seen countries setting aside funds to say we'll help the businesses that are affected, and also the SMMEs, and they were saying they're working on it. So they're giving us hope in the business sector.
I think the important thing when I was coming down, is that they're going to have flu vaccines available to the nation.
Which is a good thing.
It's a positive development, because this thing is a form of a flu, or it's a variation of a flu.
See, that's the understanding we're talking about.
Yes.
So once you have understanding that this is not, it is a pandemic, but it's not like any other. There were many pandemics if you think of it. There was a time when they had the swine flu, Ebola, SARS, so many of them, and they've been there. So how well do you understand this one, and how so that you don't panic? You know that it's gonna come and go.
Yes. You also at another point, I think number 4, build leadership skills. Do you build them now, or you simply apply them, having learned them previously?
You should be continuously learning of how to be a leader. You know, there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders lead by intimidation. Those who lead by inspiration. So as a business owner, these are times that
leader.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Because as someone who leads, you kind of mentor, coach, and be able to be a person that other people follow. And I remember I came across John Maxwell's levels of leadership, where he talks about there are people who just are there as leaders because of a title, but some people follow you because you're showing them the direction. And it is these times when we are tested that your leadership is tested. How well are you able to keep people optimistic about the future? Because there's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. Some people are thinking, oh, if a lot of people are losing their jobs out there, how about where I work? Will I be losing my job? So now is the time when a leader is supposed to stand up and assure people that, you know what, we're heading in the right direction. This is just a blip. It's not a catastrophe. It's something that is going to happen. It's going to pass, but we need to come together. So your leadership.
Do you advise leaders to constantly have meetings assuring their people?
Definitely you should. As a business owner like myself, where I've employed more than 20 people, I should be able. They're asking themselves, what am I thinking? As in me, the business owner, what am I thinking? Am I thinking of maybe cutting the salaries, which is illegal, by the way? Am I thinking of downsizing? Am I thinking, because obviously we're losing business.
Retrenchment is a possibility.
Yes, it's a possibility. Am I thinking of those? So I must reassure them. Or even if it's not reassuring, I must also be able to show them that no, we're not going to do that. And I might mention also, there was a gentleman who, when times were hard, he called his people and said, this is a situation that we are faced, and other companies are doing this, but because I've got an environment that I allow you guys to also comment what you guys think. And guys started saying, okay, maybe we can come in shifts so that we save the company money. See, it's ability of being a leader and allowing people to also feel like they're part of the decision making.
We're here at Black. We had a meeting on Monday. We're planning to have another one next Monday. I brought in a motivational speaker, and I plan to bring another one next Monday. I think that it is important to keep the spirits up.
It is. It is important to keep the spirit up, because the morale is going down. They don't see customers coming in. They can see that you are also frustrated. You see, people can see the frustration in you. And I always talk about energy, that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can only be transferred from one matter to the other. As a leader, your employees will see that you are frustrated, you're losing momentum. But if you're not communicating, they pick up that energy. And, soon things will just, and then when now things are back in order, you have to now do a lot to sort of jumpstart them. So rather go through the situation with them.
All right, let's talk about the idea that a business is as strong as its owner. Are you saying the two are inseparable? Is the owner the head and the culture of the business? Why you say the business is as good as its owner?
Yes, you see, and also on the same coin, the business can only grow if the owner grows. Growing, we're talking about personal development, we're talking about the ability to see things differently. Because think of it, when you start a business, you are the only one who's able to see the vision, and you are supposed to sell it to people, and you're supposed to be the one in times like this when it's tough to say, this is just a small thing in the 10-year plan or in the 20-year plan that we have built or we are trying to achieve. So if the owner is unable to sell the dream, if the owner is unable to have the resilience and gives up much quicker, then the rest of the staff doesn't have anything to keep up or help them going through the situations like this. So I think if you are talking about being able to separate the owner from the business, we're saying that the owner is the one that shows the direction. It's like a ship, there's a captain. Remember when Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, he had the vision for Apple. When he came back, that's when Apple started blossoming. Because why? He was able to see way beyond what other people are able. And by the way, here's the thing, there's another quote that the people that you started with are not the same people that you'll be with when you either grow the business or you reach your destination. So, but the leader will always be there. It means that the leader should continuously see the vision and continuously be recruiting the right people and building the right team.
Steve Jobs, isn't it? He went and started Pixar.
He did.
It was a big success. He came back and then next, and this he had something of a golden touch, didn't he?
He did. That means now Apple needed him more. So you see why leaders are important in a business. Because you see, when a business doesn't have a leader, or it's like a ship that doesn't have a captain. He doesn't have to do everything, but he's the one that knows where the ship is going and is able to direct. And
I think he sets the tone and gives direction.
He does. Or she does. Why are we talking about leaders as in it's always men?
There are
a lot of women who are in leadership positions.
Very, very successful as well.
Yes.
Including Mogobe, my dear wife. Now, you say you need to study the trends, the financial trends, and also the economic trends. What can we say we've picked up during these days of Corona, the last 2-3 months?
We have picked up a lot. I think some people, especially the ones that started businesses recently that have never been affected by a certain crisis, for example, the ones that started businesses after 2009, you realize that now they know that the business can be affected. Now they know that how the government affect or maybe or if a government takes a decision, how it affects their business. They know that how they are related to other countries, how sort of what happens in America or China affects the business. For example, you know, the number one commodity that we sell as a country is diamonds, and diamonds have been bought mostly by the Western countries and also China. If China is the one affected, it affects so many things. So if you are supplying Depsona, for example, clearly it means that now you won't be having money coming in. So now you are starting to see how everything is connected and interconnected. So you position yourself, you build the resilience in the sense that you are part of the community, you are not alone within the business. So you study the trends, you study how the trends within your industry are. You know, like for example, the most hit hard are in the tourism industry. Because now we're relying on people coming in,
and tourism, yes.
Hospitality and tourism, and also just locally here. Because you see, the thing about the economy, like I was saying earlier, it's that another means spending, another means income. So everything is interconnected. We have got the local economy, we've got the national economy, we've got the global economy. Everything speaks to each other.
Yeah.
So if you follow the trends, you realize that in the financial trends or economic trends are that we had the crisis in 2009. Prior to that, there's another one. There was the 2001 one. So now you see the interconnectedness. To see that when we had that
it's almost like it happens in 10-year cycles.
In 10-year cycles, if you think about it. Remember when we had those two flies that hit the World Trade Center?
Yeah, that's 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
So now it then affected the finances,
yes.
the stock exchanges and all those other stuff. Right? And then again, when we have the coronavirus, it affects the financials. So everything is. So you see, there's a lot of things that political issues affect finances, health issues affect finances. But it's not about how it affects; it's about how you view it and you study it. Because I can tell you, it's very funny that when there is a crisis, the rich becomes richer, and the poorer becomes poorer because things are becoming cheaper. People are starting to realize that no, as SMMEs, if I had bought a plot and now things are becoming tougher, I have to pay salaries. At some point, I might have to sell the plot, and the plot now I might have to sell it at a lower value than the open market value. Those who have money will do what? Who are looking, they'll come and buy. So when you study the trend, then you realize, oh, I must position myself that when things like this happen, I must be able to take advantage of it. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well explained. Now, the other point that we want to talk about is to understand the J curve. You touched on it earlier, but now I want you to explain why the J curve, what it means, and how it applies in a situation like this.
Yeah, you see, the first time I learned about the J curve actually was after I hit a slump, and I was trying to research. Is this only happening to me, or other entrepreneurs go through this? And I remember I was in Chicago as part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship. As a young African leader, and one entrepreneur who came in and talked to us introduced the J curve to us, and I was like, wow, this really works, because it's more of you start on a high note, you are excited about what's going to happen, you probably have funds, and then all of a sudden you hit a slump because funds get depleted, or what you thought was going to happen doesn't happen anymore. So most of the things were speculative, most of the things were assumptions. But now when you hit a slump, that's where you become more creative and you become more innovative and you build a thick skin from there. And as you go up after 2-3 years, because that's why they say most businesses die after 2-3 years, is when now they hit a slump. And that's where people need to have that resilience to be able to persevere. Because the moment you can bounce back and then go up, you definitely have a exponential growth. And most companies, as they go up, because the J curve, like it's a J like this, when you go up, companies start now stagnating. But those are like big companies. But as a small, medium enterprise, somehow you have to hit that slump. And
but this J curve, is it time bound or time related in terms of how long it takes to get to a certain portion of the J to the top and so on?
I think there are many J curves within a J curve, because you can hit a slump the first time, because that one is the natural one. You sometimes don't even know what entrepreneurship is or how to run an enterprise. You're still learning when you start a business. You're going to hit that one. That's why the statistics proves themselves that 90% of businesses die in the first 5 years. But I guess also as you go along, you can actually hit many J curves, but at least you'll be aware. You see, earlier on someone told me that coronavirus isn't going to kill a lot of people in Africa, but it's going to kill a lot of businesses. So the question then is, are people ready? Are people resilient enough? Do people have that thick skin to be able to go through these difficult times? As it's part of the crisis, if you think of it, because it affects your finances as a business.
Okay. You say we must have an investment plan for your business. I suppose an investment plan can come handy during times like this. Explain the investment plan and how it applies, especially to these times.
Yeah, as a business, you see, this is one of the difficult times because you ask yourself, what am I going to pay salaries with, bills with, so many things that helps you, operational expenses for that matter.
Overheads, yeah.
The overhead. So the question is, do you only rely on one stream of income? Like many other people who are working, for example, they only rely on one stream of income. And most those people, you figure out, they haven't built like an emergency fund. We always advise people that are working that you need to build at least money that will sustain you for at least 6 months. For example, if you get retrenched or there's a restructuring restructuring happens within your organization, you should be able to at least live for some time. But we find that as a business also, people are unable, to go from month to month without relying on one stream of income or maybe a particular tender as such. As when we talk about it in the job, I was just saying people are just one pay slip away from poverty, or maybe a job is just over broke. But when you talk about a business, the question is, do you only rely on one stream of income? So as you you generate the income, the question is, do you also invest it in other investment vehicles that are independent from your main line of business? And I remember Ray Kroc, who you can say is the founder of McDonald's, though he bought it from the McDonald's brothers, but he grew it to a multinational chain. Yes, he was asked. Actually, he asked the question to some of the graduates to say, "What business am I in?" And they said, "You are in the business of hamburgers and chips." And then he said, "No, I'm not in the business of hamburgers and chips. I'm in the business of real estate." Meaning that hamburgers and chips, they generate the income, the revenue, and then he invest it in the real estate business. So in times like this, if you only have one income, then you won't be able to survive, or you're going to have to run on a deficit, or try at least get something from your savings if you save. But if you don't have, you're going to face challenges. But if you have something that, for example, right now, if there's a lockdown and everything has stopped, people are not working, if you look at it, people are now quarantined, they self-quarantined at their houses. So if you had invested in, let's say, the real estate, you're still cashing, even if people are not working. So do you have something that will continuously give you income?
Something like even stocks, something like real estate, something like multi-level marketing, something like that.
Or something that, like online business.
Yes.
Because people right now are at home, they're probably logging into social media or maybe websites to check out what's happening. They have time, like Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom. They're like, okay, I've been wanting to check out this nuggets. Let me now see what's happening. If you were to monetize it, you realize that this is the time you'll be cashing, because a lot of people are now at home. They have free time to themselves.
That takes us to the next point, which is the question of business continuity. You say we must have a business continuity plan. I'm reminded that I have a tenant by the name of Continuity SA up in Pakalani. What they basically do is they would have entered into deals with the likes of banks or large institutions, insurance institutions, where they have computer backup systems, so that should something happen at headquarters or at the main office, they can instantly pick things up, especially electronically, or in terms of IT, at the back office, which is continuity.
Yes.
So when you talk of continuity, plan, I can relate to that, but I still want to hear you elaborate more on how that works.
Yeah, business continuity is simply a process, creating a process or a system that allows you to prepare for a disaster, and also how you're going to recover from a disaster. So you see, you are saying, okay, where I am, I'm able to handle any disaster as it comes, but also if it hits me hard, am I going to be able to recover from it? So most of us really aren't able to build up a business in terms of a system that can even run or can even resist disasters like this. I mean, if you look at Corona, we might classify it they haven't classified it as a national disaster, but if you think of it globally, it's going to affect a lot of businesses, like we mentioned earlier. But the question is your business able to continue running, even if this hits hard on your bottom line, right? So, for example, even other people, when they build businesses, they don't build them to a point where it can even run without them. they have to be there continuously. And it reminds you of a book by Michael E. Gerber, when he spoke about entrepreneurship decade. E-Myth. You've read it?
Yes.
He said in most cases we don't have entrepreneurs, but we have technicians who are suffering from entrepreneur seizure. A lawyer. Entrepreneur seizure. A lawyer goes out and opens a legal business, medical doctor, medical business, hardware guy, insurance guy like myself opens an insurance business, financial services guy like myself opens a financial services business, trainer like myself opens a training. I think I'm wearing many hats, so so you figure out that that person is not really an entrepreneur, but they are running, because he says knowing how to do the work does not mean that you can build a business that work. And how many of us here, more especially in the side of the country or the side of the continent, that when we pass on, our businesses are able to run without necessarily being disturbed by our passing or our absence within the business, or also by natural disasters, or just by disasters like Corona. How are we able to continue? So business, you need to be able to prepare for things like this when they happen, but also when they happen and they hit you, you need to be able to recover from that.
Okay, so that's more or less what continuity
and by the way,
is about.
Yeah, when you refer to your client continuity, when you say they have that, if you think of it, nowadays we're moving to the cloud, and a lot of companies are able to have continuity. How? Because you store your information in the cloud.
Do you do that?
We use the cloud a lot, because we've realized that having something, having a hardware brick and mortar really is a challenge. Because back in the day, most people used to have the servers within a brick and mortar. So if something happens to that server, then it means that it disturbs the operations of the business. Now, these days people are keeping things on the cloud, which means that if anything happens, the business continues, because you are accessing things on the cloud.
Can you just assume that the listener out there is totally clueless about this cloud thing? How do you define it or explain it?
Yeah, the listener might be clueless, but probably they've used something like Google Drive. They've used something like Dropbox, OneDrive. This is where you are able to digitize everything and you automate certain things, because you have moved from paper. You are now paperless. You've moved everything into the cloud, or maybe say online. And you are able to store everything. You can access it anywhere. Like right now, I don't have to be moving around carrying anything, files, or maybe just even if I don't have a laptop with me, my personal laptop or my work laptop, I can still access my emails. I can access my documents at the office. I can
even from any internet.
Any internet, as long as it's online, I can be able to. So that's the thing. Are you able to continue, even if your shop, your let's say the shop like this will ban, or maybe anything that you store information that will ban? Are you able to continue?
I like the next one that we have to discuss, which is hiring people who are smarter than yourself. As a CEO, as the entrepreneur, why go for smarter people? What's the reasoning?
They say if you are the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. I've learned this over time, to say that sometimes thinking that you know everything, and we do that as entrepreneurs, because you are the one who knows the vision. You tend to tell people what to do and you give them directives. But you see, you are unable to see things from all perspectives in most cases, because if you think of it, entrepreneurs are strongly opinionated. They always have an opinion about something. Once they've made up their mind, they've made up their mind. But when you hire people that are smarter than you, they're able to, number one, challenge you. They're able to, number one, be able to say, okay, we could do this thing in a certain way. And also, the business can continue running without you, because they're able to come together. Actually, there's a book by Robert Kiyosaki, where he said why A students work for C students and B students work for the government. If you think of it, it doesn't mean that like A students can't start businesses, but it means that whatever, even if you're a C student or B student, whenever you start a business, you must have people that are able to see things that you can't see and are smarter than you in any area. Because you might be a salesman, but you're probably not a good admin person, or a good in accounts, so figure out in all these phases or all these sections of a business, let me hire people that are smarter than me in those areas. Or even when I'm not there, they can still continue with the business, because at least they're able to capture or internalize the vision of the company, and they're able to think, much faster or even better than I do.
Okay, have an inclusive work environment. You're not talking about diversity in the sense of, cross-cultural diversity, or even people now talk these days about inclusivity in the sense of having environments which are, diversity basically.
Yeah, I mean, an inclusive environment is one that allows people to be free to share their ideas, because once you see, I said earlier that there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders, I said, they lead by intimidation. Those who lead by inspiration. So the purpose of a leader or the person who started the business is to show direction. Once you show direction, you then allow people to be creative and innovate, and allow them to feel like their ideas are welcome, and they also contribute to that. So you find that in cases like in cases like this, where we are affected by corona, our businesses are affected by a health disaster that affects our finances. Once you allow people to be able to come up with ideas of what can we do to help and go through the situation, you go through it together.
Have a meeting with your staff and solicit opinions and views
from them. You know, the other thing is you must also be the last one to speak, even when you have a meeting as a leader.
Yeah, Mandela said something about it in his book, Long Walk to Freedom. I think he said when he grew up, his father was a member of the Tembu tribe. And what his father, who was then a chief, would do is have that people in that circle, more or less like a quota system, and he would always be the last to say something.
Definitely.
After getting all the views.
All the views.
And he says he adopted the same thinking as well.
It works. I've actually adopted that, because even if you know something, just wait for them to say, because one of them might say what you were thinking, and it's good because it shows that the people you are with are going the same direction as you. They're able to think of what you think. And when you do that, when you create an inclusive environment for your employees, one, it creates trust, because every relationship is built with trust and cooperation. When people trust you, they cooperate with you. Meaning that if they know that you trust our opinions, and you also ask for assistance from them, even advice, ask for advice from them. That way you are creating an environment that people can look up to. When they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking, hey, am I going to that place again? No, they're thinking, I'm going to a place where I'm valued, and I'm adding I'm a value add to that particular company. Yeah.
That's a powerful one. I'll come to near the end. Now, there's a bonus that we need to discuss. I always give my audience a bonus. You say we must not be government dependent. You must not depend on the government. What's the reason for that?
It's very, very simple, because you see, I'll give you an example. At Key Wealth, about 90 to 95% of our business is from private sector, because I think what we realize is that, you see, with government, yes, you can work with government, and I know a lot of companies in the African economy works with government, because with government there's this 3 quotation system, and what happens is, even if you add more value,
for the lowest,
they always look for but the thing is, cheap is expensive. Sometimes they get the cheapest, but they will then have to pay for it, because
there's not much they can do, because they're guided by PPADB legislation and regulations.
That's the thing. But you see, as a business, once you figure out how do I then start working with even the private sector, and also how do you kind of, there's B2B where you work with corporate, and there's also this B2C where you work with companies. Nowadays, if you look at businesses that are moving,
what does the B stand for on the system?
Business to business.
Yes.
Or you can work business to customer.
Yes.
Directly to customer. People always say that some people that have realized this subscription business model, they say if you get 1,000 people that pay to make $1 million, you just get 1,000 people who pay you 1,000 pula. And look, think of it. Facebook makes more money from individuals than from companies. Amazon, they make more money from people who are online. A lot of companies nowadays, they realize that money is in the hands of the people, because the thing about relying on a big institution is that if they decide, or they are affected by a situation like this, like corona, it means that now you can't cash that big check, or you won't be able to respond to that tender. You still have to be, we're talking about resilience, we're talking about continuity, we're talking about the ability to even be relevant, even when situations like this happen. For example, I want people to start thinking globally. As a young African leader, because now
Mandela fellow.
I'm a Mandela Washington fellow. I've looked at Africa as in Africa is open for business, and I'm like, if something happens in Botswana, I should be able to make money in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, everywhere. You see, I should be able to make money. By the way, do you know that also? Just to look at what has happened. When you look at situations like this, the rich people become richer, and the poorer become poorer. Why? Because things are now becoming cheaper for the rich, because they are liquid, they've got cash. These guys who are now affected, and as an SMME, if I bought a plot somewhere, right, and then I realized it's an investment, I was trying to maybe make an investment plan, and now I'm hit by this, I can't pay salaries, I sell the plot. Who's going to buy the plot? the guy who's got money. So that's the thing about positioning yourself for issues like this, and being ready, and having the ability to be resilient and persevere in situations like this. So maybe without digressing much from the point of working and not relying on the government, and going back to that point, is that companies that work and are able to be independent and work B2C and are able to figure out how to get that money from the government, if they do it as a tender, and invest it in other investment vehicles, so that they are not over-reliant on the
So
government.
you're really spreading the risk. You're diversifying.
Yes,
in a sense.
that's because you see, government can be affected by so many things. Could be political issues, could be things like this corona health issues. That is national.
As we,
and you're affected
as we
by.
conclude our time together, Mr. France, can you look into the camera, tell the viewers how they can access you, where to contact you, and what other goodies you have for them in terms of your business?
Yes, you can get hold of us at Key Wealth. Key Wealth is you can call us at 398-0321, or maybe our email at info@keywealth.co.bw. You can also check us on social media like Facebook. Our page is Key Wealth. Key Wealth Le Wealth Wakulo. We are unlocking your financial success. Key Wealth is a group of companies. Like I started at the beginning when I was introducing Key Wealth, or what we do, we specialize in training, advisory, and risk management. My page on Facebook is Mogomotsi France Speaks, and I also have a profile, Mogomotsi Patrick France. So that's where you can get hold of me.
My
and also
favorite
call
is
it.
when you talk when you are driving. I really love that one.
Wow.
Because I had fun while I was. I was watching you once when I was shaving. It was great fun.
Wow. So it means a lot of people are watching me now out there shaving or washing dishes. That means I should do more of those.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I should. When I'm driving, it's lonely when you're driving and you're just waiting for I'm a person who doesn't. Okay, maybe I'm a different kind of breed. I don't like playing music mostly. I'd rather play content because I believe in repetition and reprogramming the subconscious mind. So I should share more when I'm driving. Should make sure that I share with people
as
about
long
the
as
inside.
you keep your hands on the road, eyes on the road. Yeah.
Definitely.
Finally, can you please encourage the viewer to subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom, please?
The viewer at home, either you're driving, like Mr. Mogobe said, I shared a video when I was driving. Either you're at the office, or wherever you're watching. Please subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom on YouTube, and so that you learn more.
It costs you nothing.
It costs you nothing, and you'll be able to learn more from other people, not only me. And from there, you'll be a different person. Look, they say if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Just get different perspectives and get the understanding of how different things work.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Thank you.